What if the cure for what science deems incurable isn't in our most advanced laboratories, but rather in the stars? What if the accounts of encounters with the unknown, so often marked by fear and confusion, hold a much deeper, more hopeful truth? Here at Alien Cases, we've always explored the boundaries of what's possible, but today we begin a truly unprecedented journey. It is with a profound sense of honor and responsibility that we announce a unique collaboration. We have been granted permission to open the files of one of the world's most respected and meticulous UFO researchers, Preston Dennett, an author whose career has been dedicated to documenting, with seriousness and courage, the most extraordinary aspects of the UFO phenomenon. We are about to dive into his seminal work, The Healing Power of UFOs, an impressive compendium that catalogs over 300 real cases of people who claim to have been healed by extraterrestrial intelligences. This isn't folklore. These are direct testimonies collected over more than a century from all corners of the globe and, in many cases, verified by doctors and specialists. Dennett's work suggests that the healing of human beings may not be an accidental event, but one of the primary alien agendas on our planet. To inaugurate this series, we have selected 10 cases focused on hand and arm healings, and, following the chronological order of the book, our starting point will be nothing less than a historical milestone, the first case of a UFO healing ever recorded. Prepare yourselves. Our investigation begins not in the age of satellites and the internet, but in a simpler time, on a quiet path in rural Scotland in 1914. Here, we find what may be ground zero for one of the most bizarre and profound phenomena ever recorded. A young boy, a fall, a broken arm, a lonely cry that was answered not by his parents, but by something other. A figure about 2.5 feet tall appeared. According to the boy, the little man somehow healed him instantly. The pain vanished. The bone was mended. "Who are you?" the boy asked. The figure replied that he was a gnome. The boy, with the innocence of a child, argued that he looked more like a leprechaun. The figure insisted he was a gnome. And then, as suddenly as he appeared, he fled as the boy's parents arrived. They never believed the story, but for his entire life, the boy maintained the account. His arm was broken and healed by an entity that did not belong to our world. A fairy tale? Perhaps. Or perhaps the first piece of a cosmic puzzle. Let's jump forward 50 years. The fog of folklore dissipates, giving way to witnesses trained to observe and report. Law enforcement officers. September 3, 1965, Damon, Texas. Patrolman Robert Good and Chief Deputy Billy McCoy are on their way back from a football game. Officer Good's finger is throbbing. Hours earlier, his son's pet alligator bit him, leaving the finger red and swollen. That's when they see it. Strange lights rising to the right of the road. McCoy stops the patrol car. The lights move towards them, transforming into a solid, silent, colossal mass. At 200 to 300 feet long and 50 feet wide, it was the size of a football field, casting an immense shadow over the Texas landscape. Suddenly, the object is upon them. A beam of light floods the car. Good's left arm with the injured finger is hanging out the window. He recalls, "I could feel the heat from the light." Terror takes over. McCoy floors it.
fleeing at nearly 100 miles per hour. They don't stop until they reach the safety of a diner in town. Adrenaline is high, as is disbelief. And it's at that moment that reality shifts again. Good realizes his finger no longer hurts. "I suddenly realized it wasn't bothering me," he said, "and I took it out of the bandage. Hell, I couldn't even tell it had been bitten." His partner, McCoy, confirms the story. "The swelling had gone down," McCoy said, "and the finger looked a lot better. You could hardly see the marks. There was no redness. The inflammation seemed to be gone." The Air Force investigated. Major L.R. Leach concluded the object remained unidentified, stating, "There is no doubt in my mind that they definitely saw some unusual object or phenomenon." What happened on that road? Was it an accidental side effect of exposure to an unknown technology? Or was it a deliberate act? The answer to that may lie in cases where the interaction is much more intimate.
If the Texas case was a long-distance encounter, other reports take us inside the operating room. In the 1960s in New Jersey, Richard Rylka, an employee at a medical supply company, had his index finger crushed by a piece of heavy equipment. His co-workers described it as white and gruesomely distorted. Rushed to the hospital, he was left alone in the emergency room. That's when they appeared. Two entities whom he would later identify as Quran and Nepos. They simply held their hands over his finger. No words were spoken. When the doctor returned to take an X-ray, he found no sign of injury. The company nurse, incredulous after reading the hospital report, told Rylka bluntly, "You should have lost that finger." This direct, almost surgical intervention repeats itself. In 1983, a farm woman in the American Midwest cut her hand while loading cattle. The wound became infected. The next morning, she saw an egg-shaped craft descend towards her. Suddenly, she was inside an illuminated room. Three short beings wearing surgical masks surrounded her. She passed out. When she awoke back in the field, her hand was completely healed. These encounters, while terrifying, are often silent and clinical. But in some cases, the witnesses are conscious enough to talk. In the mid-1970s, Anthony Champlain from Florida was taken aboard a craft to be healed of a hand and arm injury. His memory is hazy, a common trait in abduction reports, but he recalls a surreal dialogue as a beam of light approached him. "It was a slow-moving beam of light, and it hit me slowly, and you kind of watched it. I thought, is this going to hurt?" "No, it will not hurt," a female voice replied. "What are you guys doing?" he asked. "Is there any part of your body that's broken?" the woman asked. "Yeah," Anthony replied. "Are you guys fixing it?" "Yes," she said, "we are repairing." The strangest part is the fog surrounding the injury itself. "To this day," he says, "I don't remember what they fixed because I kept trying to think what was broken. I can't remember what was broken. That was the funny part." Anthony's experience, with its fragmented memory and bizarre dialogue, prepares us for what is perhaps the most detailed and disturbing encounter ever recorded. The most extraordinary account of direct intervention comes from a computer specialist named Tim, who was working in Japan in 1999. At 2 a.m., during a walk on the beach, he encountered a strange light, felt an imminent danger, and, while fleeing, fell and opened a deep gash on his hand. That's when he saw it. "I stood up," he says, "but when I looked forward, no more than 30 feet away, this little guy with his huge head was staring at me. My legs buckled at that moment."
The worst part for me was the stare. Those big, black, shiny eyes were so indifferent, so cold. Those eyes saw right through me. A voice echoed in his mind. "No harm will come to you. Come down now." Despite his fear, Tim found himself in a tense dialogue with the being. "What do you want from me?" Tim asked. "To teach. If you mean me no harm, can I go home now?" "I am no more alien to you than you are to me. I am here to help you, to guide you." Tim agreed to go with them. Aboard a triangular craft about 100 feet high, he was instructed to sit on an examination table. One of them took my hand and pointed a pen-like instrument towards my wound. I felt as if I were receiving an electric shock, so I pulled my hand away. When I looked at my wound, wiping the blood with my shirt, it was totally closed and a small scar had replaced the wound. I was astonished. Once again, he pointed the instrument at my shoulder and the pain was gone. Tim's encounter went beyond healing. He received a dark message about the future of humanity and a supposed pact between the aliens and world leaders. He was left nearly 20 miles from his car with a story he refuses to discuss publicly. His final statement is a chilling testament to the weight of such an experience. This is my story. Feel free to dismiss it or publish it, but do not attempt to locate or contact me in any way. The cases of direct intervention are shocking, but perhaps more disturbing are the reports where healing happens with no ships, no visible entities, no logical explanation. At 10:15 p.m. on July 8, 1974, columnist Brandon Blackman observed a UFO over Brooklyn, New York. Earlier that day, he had cut his finger. That night, after the sighting, he discovered something impossible. "When I removed the bandage," Blackman says, "I discovered that the wound was completely healed, as if absolutely nothing had happened." Blackman has no memory of abduction, no beam of light. The healing seems to have been an effect of mere proximity, an unseen force that rewrote his biology from a distance. This force manifested even more physically for Chuck Weiss in San Francisco, 1994. After straining his arm during a workout, severe pain immobilized him. Sitting on his couch, something inexplicable happened. "I felt something press several times against my lower back," he writes. "The sensation lasted for a good 2 or 3 seconds. I looked behind me. There was nothing on the couch, but then I noticed my arm and chest no longer hurt." In his diary, he recorded the terror of that moment. 1 minute severe pain, the next nothing. "This is not natural. What is happening to me?" In some cases, the experience transcends the physical and enters the realm of consciousness. Late one summer night in 1990 in Russia, a man named Vasily was subjected to an examination by an unseen force in his bedroom. He felt his body being scanned, his teeth and jaw being repaired, and a previously injured pinky finger was also healed. The encounter led him to a gray room with no corners and a telepathic conversation with a tall woman, almost 6'1". The most recent experience takes us to 2010 with Catherine from Fresno, California.
After injuring her hand, she woke one night with the sensation of two beams of light on her body, one on her hand. When she woke in the morning, the pain was gone. She now believes the light healed her. But her story, like so many, is not an isolated event. It is a pattern of encounters, dreams, and an inexplicable sense of peace that accompanies her, suggesting an ongoing and enigmatic contact.
From a gnome in 1914 Scotland to beams of light in 2010 California, from surgical interventions aboard craft to healings performed by unseen forces, the patterns are undeniable. The witnesses come from all walks of life. The evidence, though anecdotal, is vast and consistent. This leaves us with the deepest, most unsettling questions. Why would they heal a simple cut on a finger or a pulled muscle? Is it an act of compassion? A method to display their abilities and leave irrefutable proof of contact? Or are we just part of a global-scale experiment, our wounds and ailments serving as a laboratory for an intelligence we cannot comprehend? The truth remains hidden in the shadows between human testimony and the silence of the cosmos. The files are open. The conclusion is yours. What you've just seen defies easy explanation. Which of these accounts resonated with you the most? The story of the police officers in Texas? Tim's conversation with the being on the beach? Or the unseen healings that leave no trace except for the absence of pain? We want to know your thoughts. Leave your theory in the comments below. This is a space for skeptics and believers alike to debate one of the greatest mysteries of our time. Every like on this video is a powerful signal to the algorithm showing that deep dive investigations like this one should reach more people. It's your support that drives us to open the next file. And if you're new here and believe that we are not alone, make sure you're subscribed and have notifications turned on. The journey into the unknown is just beginning. And believe us, this journey is only just beginning. What we've explored today is the first page of a vast and profound archive that Preston Dennett has allowed us to access. The next cases are even more baffling. That's why your subscription and hitting that notification bell are essential. It's your guarantee that you'll be notified as soon as the next file is opened. Thank you for joining us on this investigation. Until next time, and we'll see you in the next video.